Hello and welcome everyone, I'm Madals and this is game number 3 of a best of 3. Game 1 and 2 have been fairly intense. Game 3 now has a lot to live up to, but I have no doubts that these two players are going to be able to produce something pretty spectacular for us all to watch. So, good job everyone for sticking with this. Let me know in the comment section below, before you watch any further, who you think is going to take this game. And if you are right or wrong, well, leave me a comment at the end and say whether you were or not, because this, I think, is going to be a very close game. But anyway, let's introduce these two players. Up in the top left position, we have got the purple Terran. It is QXC. And his opponent down in the bottom right, the yellow Zerg, it is LoweLy. These two players are spawning on Belshire, Bigahana, and yeah, just generally a cool map. I like this map. I think this is potentially the favourite map at the moment in most of the tournaments. I don't know, as for players I think it is, because it's quite nicely balanced. I can't think of anyone, as you you can't see me because I don't have my webcam on, but if you could see me right now, when I said I don't think anyone has a problem with this, my brain was just inquisitively thinking of all of the whine you hear from players about different maps on Twitter, in pre-game lobbies and things like that. And actually, I can't actually recall any player being like, "Oh, Belshire, this is such a terrible map." So that's usually a good sign. If no one complains about it, generally it's quite good. At least that's what I try and go for. If you don't hear complaints on the internet, it's generally a good thing. Most of the time, anyway. Now, anyway, this game so far, LoweLy going for a 15 hatch opening, QXC going for a command center first as part of the wall off. So back to the build he went in game 1. Probably a good move for him, because game 2 he went for a bit more of an aggressive style and it didn't work out quite as well for him, and therefore going for this more macro orientated style, well, if it worked game 1, why change it? That's where he won it. So leveled out, whoever wins this game of course will win the series. That's a lot of pressure on the line there. LoweLy going for actually relatively normally timed build. He went for the 15 hatch and I think it was a 15 pool, and it may have been 16 pool. Difficult to tell these sort of things unless you're noticing at the right moment, but yeah, now SEV just going to come out, get a little scout down. Supply depot going off because of course game number 1 LoweLy did go for that early aggressive play, those 6 lings, so QXC not going to take any chances there, getting his refinery down as well. These two, for the moment, just going for a very normal build, nothing to be too worried about. LoweLy just rallying down some drones ready as soon as this hatchery finishes, starts up his second queen as soon as it finishes too, so everything going very much to plan. And this means that for the next couple of minutes, we shouldn't get anything too crazy occurring. 4 Zerglings are on their way out, just making sure that any pressure that will be coming in can be dealt with, because for the time being at least, there hasn't been any scout out. These Overlords actually going in a relatively interesting scouting pattern, going up the sides to make sure there's no proxies. And that actually is quite an interesting thing to do, because QXC of course can be a very aggressive player, so it's probably a smart move by LoweLy, and ultimately, if he spots any proxies, he needs to scout those out. What he doesn't need to scout out desperately is if there's a command center, because if there is, guess what? He's already got his expansion up, he can go about his build as he generally would. If there's proxies up, then that's when he needs to adjust his place. So I quite like the Overlord sending, just to check for those, any kind of proxy barracks or anything like that. So smart move there by the Zerg player. These Zergs are going to try and put on a little bit of pressure, will be able to dart straight past that bunker. Now heading up into the main, but luckily that supply depot goes up in time. Did see the factory though, so good little scout out there, knows that the natural's up. These Zerglings are going to die for their trouble, but I don't mind that, because they got a good scout. They know exactly what's coming down. This is from LoweLy's point of view. He knows the factory's there, he knows that the command center's down, and that, when you see those buildings, you know really what your opponent's build is. They can't be going for anything too crazy off of an opening like that, so this is all good for LoweLy. Big thing to look for is when he tries to secure a third, because if he tries to secure it up quickly, it means he's going very economically focused. If he instead goes up for a lair at around 6:30, 7 minutes-ish, that means he's going to try and tech first, hold off, and expect some aggression. With a starport coming down, yeah, potentially drops could be coming in, it could be a bit of a pain, but nothing that is absolutely terrifying, to be honest. It's just, oh, actually a tech lab coming down on this barrack, so we could be seeing some Banshee. Something which really hasn't been massively in the metagame since back in Wings of Liberty, where, of course, Reactor Hellions into Banshee was the opening that every Terran player did against Zerg. It was so common, and maybe actually going to pick up favour again if the Cloak Banshee changes do come through, because if Cloak is reduced in cost, maybe it will occur, but here we go. The Banshee is now in production, no Cloak as of yet, something to definitely keep an eye on, because that makes a real big difference. But LoweLy, he's got 10 Roaches in production. That's easily going to be able to hold off these Hellions, and since there's 10 of them, well, that's going to be some counter pressure coming in as well. You wouldn't get 10 out, you get, say, maybe 4 or 6 if you wanted to hold off some Hellions, because that's all you need. At the same time though, Cloak has now got started up. We've got still more Roaches just popping out, now 10 there, no more on the way. LoweLy instead just switching back into droning, getting up his 3rd and 4th gas as well as his lair, but these Hellions are about to discover, wow, that is a lot of Roaches, but the Banshee will be able to deal with that as long as this wall isn't breached. The big thing is you don't take too many losses, and actually QXC managing to sneak through these Hellions. 3 managed to make their way forward. The Queens, they're going to be able to take out the second one. Well, there's a Queen up in the main. If he focuses down that really damaged Hellion, that would be ideal, but he's not going to do that yet, and that means the Hellions are going to come in, start roasting down a couple of drones. The drone's taking quite a bit of fire now, but not too much. It's not devastating yet. At the same time, the Roaches are now pushing in. The bunker is going to try and get repaired. Will the SCVs be able to repair it in time? No is the answer. Not enough surface area. The first Banshee is down. Where is it sitting? It's being pulled back to try and deal with these Roaches. The next bunker is going to get sniped off before it is able to finish, and the Roaches now putting on quite a bit of pain. The Hellions not able to do that much. I hear Widow Mines burrowing. That means that these Roaches could take some damage. SCVs are getting sniped off. More bunkers trying to complete. There was a single Marauder there. The forward bunker is now done. The Marauder is going to jump into it, but these SCVs have to be so careful because they could get sniped out the bunker. Trying to get focused, but it's not going to be able to go down. That means the Roaches will be best used picking off as many SCVs as possible, especially when they are sitting there up against 2 Banshee, which will deal some good damage to them very quickly. But already, LoweLy, he is able to do so much damage. He's killing an awful number of SCVs, 16 already dead. And while the Roaches will get cleaned up now, the worker count is now sitting at 52 drones to 34 SCVs. The 2 Banshees have also been scouted, which means Spore Crawlers instantly go down at both the main and natural base for LoweLy. He's got the additional Queens there. He's really just sitting quite comfortably. 3 Evolution Chambers plus this Spore Crawler and Queens means that the Hellions can't get in. Widow Mines can be a little bit of a pain still though, especially if they get just kind of at all the exits to the base. Clearly not going to be able to go in the mineral line because of the detection from the Spore Crawlers, but that doesn't stop them being a right nuisance, and that is really what Widow Mines are. If no one has ever played Zerg against Widow Mines, you do not appreciate how frustrating they are. They're just, they make my blood boil. They're that frustrating. I'd actually prefer to be cannon rushed than have to face Widow Mines, just in terms of how irritating they are, because they never kill you on their own, but they can definitely make you wish you were dead. So, 3rd and 4th gas now coming down for QXC. He's also currently about to start up the double engineering base. So upgrades, a little bit delayed. He's not rushing those out. LoweLy trying to get his 3rd down. And Widow Mine is on its way forward. Will be able to get in a good spot. The Queen's pushing forward. Going to try and be like, no, Banshee, you're not doing anything. There is the Overseer there too. That's a good spot. It's now up to 6 Queens, actually. So, I like this mass heavy Queen style. It's very good. I like it against Terran purely because it's able to deal with these Banshees nicely. Of course, back in Wings of Liberty, when this kind of Banshee opening was really popular, it was when the Spanishiwa style of going for like tons of Queens and Spines was really popular too, and just droning like a madman. And this is sort of reminiscent of that. Just getting out a lot of drones, getting out a lot of Queens. You can deal with anything that's going to be thrown at you. The main has to be a little bit careful though. Only a single Queen and a single Spore there. Against 3 Banshee, quite a bit of damage can be done. This hatchery could be running into a little bit of trouble if it does get focused. The Queen can also get focused down very easily, especially with good micro. Got to be careful of the damaged Banshee though. You do not want that going down. The Queen's getting pulled back though, still forcing this back. And actually QXC only managing to kill 5 workers this game so far with a very harassment heavy opener. That isn't really what he would want. He is able to pick off a couple of creep tumors though. He does have his 3rd orbital command now floating to go and land at his 3rd. But LoweLy already got his 3rd secured, sitting up at 65 workers, can still pump out a few more should he want to. And he definitely will want to get up to about that kind of 70-80 mark. But now Banshee's still trying to clean out more creep tumors. couple of Infestors getting some nice little fun growths off there. This is exactly the same style we saw from LoweLy in game number 1, except with the roaches coming out early on, dealing a lot of damage. So things looking quite good. The supply advantage just there for LoweLy at the moment, and he's going to be able to see that this third base is coming down. He's got an Overlord there, he's got a couple of Zerglings, a few SCVs transferring across. They could get picked off very easily, especially when the Marines and Marauders are a little way behind. So they are somehow managing to stay alive. That is pretty much a miracle. A little bit of creep spread is going down here. It's going to delay the third momentarily. The fourth already getting started up. Here's the Hive, here's the Spire, but a drop is also on its way down. The Queen is going to get taken out. The spawning pool getting focused. A lot of Zerglings are getting pulled back though. This should get cleaned up very effectively now, because there's just too many Zerglings there, and they've got 1-1 upgrades done, whereas no upgrades as of yet for QXE. His 1-1 is about to finish up. He's getting his armory ready to start 2-2 immediately. But things for LoweLy actually looking pretty good. He's getting more spores down pretty much everywhere. Clearly not a fan of getting dropped. His spores just coat everything. And yeah, with the Spire, with Hive coming down, that means that he's going to be able to get up to Broodlords. Now, with Infestors, with the 2-2 upgrades just kicking in now, he can start 3-3 straight away. The Broodlords though, game 1, remember he went for that Greater Spire, but he just didn't really have the money to get that down. But that was because he couldn't get a fourth secured too fast. But this game, he is going to be able to secure this fourth. This drop getting cleaned up, the medevac being forced to pull back. There's a single Banshee there, but with the Infestors, with many Queen on the field, probably not going to be able to do too much. Needs to make sure that this does stay up. Meanwhile, a double drop coming in towards the main. Lots of Spore Crawlers though, lots of Queens up here. This is not going to be too successful. The medevacs get taken out. Transfuses need to keep going down though. That is absolutely essential that transfuses go, and they're not at the moment because the attention is down here. The hatchery was sniped off there by QXE, and this drop in the main base is going to start getting some drones. This is exactly what QXE needs to do to get himself in a good spot. He is now in a really good defensive position. A fungal growth doesn't quite catch all of the Marines, but gets a good number of them. The fourth base going down though, that is really what QXE wanted to achieve, because now he's on equal bases as the Zerg, and actually, if you've lost that fourth, you're not going to have tons of money. The Spire as well, was that scouted? That is something that really is important. Where is that Spire sitting? If I try and find it. Okay, there is a Spire somewhere now. Whether I can see it or not. There we go, natural base. So has this been spotted? No. No idea that that's down, but there is an idea that the Hive is there. So that kind of deductive reasoning can say, well, you're either going Ultras or for Broodlords, and considering you've got so many Infestors down, it could still be either, but game 1 you went for those Broodlords, so probably going to be a similar thing. QXE starting to move forward. Of course, this is in game 1 where he started putting on a lot of pressure at around the same mark. Waiting for the 2-2 upgrades though wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, but likewise, QXE, he doesn't know that his opponent is going for these Broodlords. He doesn't know the Corruptors are coming out. He doesn't know that Adrenal Glands is on the way for these Speedlings, but the Speedlings are once more being so effective this game, really just trying to pick off any stray units around the map, just dealing as much damage as they can. 2-2 upgrades about to kick in for QXE. They're still, well, okay, they're a good 40 seconds away still, but that shouldn't take too long actually in reality. As long as he just waits for this push for the 2-2, when it's so close, it'd be a good move. The Broodlords though can start morphing shortly. 5 seconds until that Greater Spire is done, but QXE is moving forward before then. That means that LoweLy is going to have to engage this, but a good clump of Marines there nearly got hit by a fungal growth, but it wasn't able to quite get the connection. At the same time, we've got Speedlings running in towards the natural and third base. Are they going to be able to pick off many reinforcements? No, because there's a good number of Marines there at the same time. The fourth base for LoweLy is suddenly under siege from these Marines, and this is what LoweLy does not want. He wants this fourth hatch up. He needs this fourth hatch up. The Corruptors are going to put an end to that medevac, but the fourth does go down, doesn't get cancelled either, which is even more frustrating for the Zerg player. 3-3 upgrades coming down for both sides. Burrow also on its way. But the Corruptors are still Corruptors and not Broodlords. The first Broodlords need to be morphing in fairly soon, because otherwise these tanks are just going to annihilate everything. So waiting for those good fungal growths start hitting. The Infestor's going to try and chain fungal this for as long as possible. Need to be careful of the siege tanks getting some good damage down. A few infested Terrans thrown their way too, but Marines on their way up. There is not many reinforcing units here. Only 14 Zerglings and 2 Banelings. That is not enough to stop this. 32 more Zerglings are in production, but can they get here in time? QXE slowly tightening his grip, slowly moving forward. He does have those 2-2 upgrades, about to get +1 vehicle weapons as well, but his units are all getting very low on health. The medevac count though a lot higher than in the first game. but also the Broodlord count is going to be a lot higher compared to the first game. 7 Broodlords morphing in, more Speedlings coming in for a little bit of counter pressure. Nothing really defending the third other than 2 Marines in this bunker, and that could lead to a bit of fun, but there is the supply depot wall off, which will have to be taken down first. This is just going to alert QXC, so he can come back to try and defend that. Running some Speedlings straight into the meat grinder though. Knows where his opponent's moving, but again, not ideal. The 4th and 5th base once more coming down, but with Speedlings running in towards this 5th, that is going to be forced to cancel the Planetary Fortress upgrade and will be forced to lift up. This is buying more time, but QXC, he doesn't need time particularly. He's just going to start pushing forward. LoweLy is the one who needs all the time to get more Infestors out, to get more Broodlords out. He's got to be careful with these Infestors. The Broodlords starting to edge forward, going to try and deal some more damage. Marines coming to try and clean this out, but of course Adrenal Glands is done. 3-3 nearly done for these Zerglings as well, and once that kicks in, actually they're going to trade very nicely against smaller groups of Marines. Even already they're trading relatively nicely with Medevac support, but now the Broodlord's starting to move forward. A Fungal Growth would be brilliant here, but wasn't able to try and get that many Marines. More Zerglings also pushing in towards the main, picking off reinforcements just as we saw in the first game. Now the Broodlord's going to start raining down pain to these tanks. A good number of them get taken down. Even the final tank now getting sniped off. And that is a brilliant win for LoweLy, who does have a very equal supply to that of his opponent. But this 4th base has got to get secured because the 4th is already up. A drop in the main base will get hit by a massive chain fungal. And that means the majority of these Marines should now get taken down. At the same time, Corruptors on their way back. The Zerglings are going to be popping out and can clean the rest of this down now. The Medevac's getting focused initially too by the Corruptors. This is really everything that needs to be happening, is this Medevac just needs to die, and if the Medevac dies, then that drop's cleaned out quite nicely. The 4th base has now been discovered. The Broodlord's pushing forward though. LoweLy can be very cost effective with these Broodlords. He's just got to keep them up. There's only 6 Vikings on the field. That is going to be so difficult to try and engage with, especially when there's not really any tanks to deal with the stuff on the ground. The Infested Terrans getting thrown down, Fungal Growth's getting thrown down, the Vikings getting focused now by the Corruptors. The Broodlords are raining down so much aggression. Speedlings cleaning everything up, but at the same time, there is QXC trying to push in, but he knows that he is not going to win that base race, so GG's out, and game number 3 goes to LoweLy, and the series goes to LoweLy. So congratulations to him. I hope you all enjoyed this game, or these games. If you did, make sure that you like all the videos, leave a cool comment, and of course subscribe. I get new games up daily, so I'll catch each and every one of you tomorrow for yet another new cast. Thanks for watching. I'm Madals. Bye for now.